Hello, I'm Roy Richardson, and this is the Dynamic Business Leaders Podcast. Welcome back to the Dynamic Leaders Podcast. I'm your host, Roy Richardson, joined by my insightful co-host and trusting sounding board, Sean Murphy. Sean, another day, another week. Here we are, just wrapped up from all the amazing times that we've had with the World Cup, 39 days of matches. And it was so nice to see, just the melting pot of cultures, different backgrounds of people just coming together and just having fun. And what a great break and a great summer. Really excited about this segment.
Same, man. I cannot wait. It's funny. We had a session a couple of months ago, not even a couple of months ago. It was Juneteenth, right? It's like, how do you explain that? And then here we are with someone of Haitian descent, born and raised there, as we concluded. And since I can remember as an 18, 16-year-old, that's the one thing that I do follow in soccer is the World Cup. So I've followed the World Cup for all of these years of watching it. So I was glued to my television like it was March Madness. So to have Rachel on is an honor. I'm looking forward to it. And we couldn't have scripted any better.
Yeah. And, here's the interesting thing, right? We live in a society, and particularly in Orlando, where, Central Florida is so spread out, and we have mass transit, but we don't have mass transit that they have in Europe. So we use the roads, right? And so every road that you have driven, every bridge you've crossed, every runway that you have landed on in this area, there's a foundation underneath of it that most people never, ever think about, right?
You don't even think about it. That's right.
No, that's right. And so today's conversation is about the discipline and quiet leadership it takes to build things that have to be right the first time. And our guest, folks, is Rachel Frederick André, who is the president and principal in charge of GEC, one of Central Florida's most established engineering firms with over 35 years of continuous operation. Rachel came to the U.S. from Haiti to attend UCF, earned both her engineering degrees there, and has spent 27 years on some of Florida's most consequential infrastructure, such as SunRail, the I-4 Ultimate, the Wekiva Parkway, and the Orlando International Airport South Terminal, before stepping into the president's role, leading a team of 57 at a company recognized as both woman-owned and minority-owned. Before we dive in, today's episode is brought to you by Aurora Infotech, helping organizations grow with confidence by protecting the systems and data they depend on, so innovation never comes at the cost of trust. Now, Rachel, before Sean and I dive in, I got to say it, sac passé? I had to ask because I know what it means to leave a Caribbean island, pack a bag, and bet yourself in a country where you're starting from scratch. I did it myself from the Dutch and French island of Saint Martin, Saint-Martin. And the moment I read your story, I felt that, and so welcome, so genuinely glad you're here. So welcome.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. It's such a pleasure, such an honor, and having the shared experience like you talked about. I've been to Saint Martin, by the way.
Oh, nice.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Nice.
I did a few years ago. I like to travel. I know you're going to talk about that. And a few years ago, I decided, I'm going to do like a little island hopping thing. So we picked St. Bart's, St. Martin, and Anguilla. We did those three.
Yes. As a matter of fact, I was just, one of my clients just went down. They were in Anguilla, I think 2 months ago, and then they went back this weekend. They went St. Martin, St. Bart's, some of the other islands around. So very good. We'll have to catch up on that.
Yes.
Yes.
And next time you're ready to go, you tell me, and I'll make sure that you see it from the local perspective.
I will. Oh, awesome.
Well, Rachel, welcome again. People are going to hear this story. They're going to realize that the roads they drive every day did not just happen.
Yeah.
I know I used to go over to Jones High School and teach financial literacy. And I used to tell the kids, I'm like, in this room, there's probably 700 companies that's created something in here. And you just don't know, right? So let's start somewhere a little less about your resume and more about you as a person. So piano at the age of 5 all the way to 16.
Yes.
11 years of some serious commitment, right?
Yes.
Do you miss it? And what did those years at the Keys give you that no engineering class could ever do?
Well, it's it's gonna be a funny answer. My mom was always adamant. I'm the oldest of three. My mom is always adamant about career, academics and all of that. But she's also big about you have to play a sport and you have to do some sort of artistic thing.
Very cool.
So
Nice.
I was never into sports, but I did ballet also, by the way, for 8 years while I was doing piano. Of course, the academics, huge, huge, huge. So I had to pick an instrument when I was 5, and I said the piano because I've always loved the piano. My mom is big on the art, so she would take us to plays, she would take us to, concerts, all kinds of things, classical music, live, everything. All kinds of art. Like my house is filled with art, paintings, sculptures, all kinds of things. So anyway, I had to pick an instrument.
Nice.
I picked the piano. And I love the piano. Still my favorite instrument. Yes, I miss it, but there's just no time.
No time. Got it.
I still have my piano back home in Haiti, and my mom still reminds me, "Yeah, you left your piano there. Just gather it up." So it's still there, gathered, because I'm the only one who played. I'm the only one who played.
Now, was there something in those years that you learned that engineering and that your classes couldn't teach you?
Well, yes, and it's kind of a sad thing. I've done recitals and all those things, and I was okay. I was never a great player, so that's what I was like. Yeah, I've always liked. If you're a smart kid, you do well back home. You got to be an engineer, or a doctor, or an attorney, one of those. My dad was an engineer, and I've always loved math and all of that. So I was like, well, I guess engineering, because I knew piano wasn't going to be a career for me. As much as I love it, I wasn't good enough because some other kids, some of my friends were fantastic. So that's why they taught me.
Very, very cool.
Nice. And, let's then talk about your travel. At least 2 or 3 international trips per year, 8 countries in the last 12 months alone.
Last year, yeah.
That's not a vacation habit. I would say it's more of a worldview.
Yes.
Where does that come from, and which destination surprised you the most?
Again, my mom is big on cultures and all that. So she taught us a lot when we were younger. She traveled with us. She made sure, the language thing. Of course, in Haiti, if you're from Haiti, you're going to speak Creole. And if you go to a decent school, you will learn French. The school I went to, they taught us Spanish. I learned Latin. I did Greek. I did etymology, and of course, Spanish. All these. So I've always been into cultures and different foods, different environments, different countries. World geography, all of that. I've always been interested in that. And moving to the U.S. was a fantastic opportunity because you get to see everybody. In Haiti, you kind of limited, but here that was like, whoa. So when we would travel here for vacation in the summer, she would take us with her and all of that. So my dad didn't like to travel, so he stayed home. But my mom, she would travel with us, and that's where it came from, I think.
So your dad was an engineer. Was your mom a professional as well?
My mom is a pharmacist, but she's retired now. She's a pharmacist. Yes.
Oh, very cool.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so she did. Yep. She had her own drugstore, which she didn't manage. My grandmother did, and my mom also. She was a pharmaceutical rep. That's what she did full time.
Were they U.S. educated, or were they?
Oh, no.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, very cool.
Yep.
Very, very cool.
Yeah, that's one of the reasons my father never wanted to be here. He never wanted to leave Haiti. His mother, his siblings, they all moved to the U.S. He's like, I'm not going anywhere.
I'm not going anywhere because we have it all right here.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
Hey, I can't listen. I have a good friend. She's Jamaican, and she's like a big sister. She's 70 something years old, and so she's a big curator of art. She has a gallery in College Park, and I love collecting art myself. Years ago, she would tell me, "Oh, Sean, you need to travel," and I'm like, "Why?" I'm like, "America has it all right here." You know what I mean? So I get it. So you mentioned the 4 languages that you speak, and I guess Latin is like your emergency language, maybe.
No, I don't even. I mean, I think I lost a lot of the Latin, but the etymology, the knowing the roots of words, that's what I retained.
Yeah. That's what you got.
That's not one of the 4. That's not one of Latin is not one of the 4.
Oh, okay, got it. All right. So listen, when it truly matters, which one of the languages you think in?
I think when it comes to work, professional, it's English because I left Haiti when I was 19, came to college here, so my whole college education has been in English.
English, yeah.
Got it.
But if I'm at home talking to family, it's probably French or Creole. It's mostly Creole, probably.
Okay.
Yeah.
I thought maybe there's you might not be wanting to give up the secret sauce. Maybe that's what it is.
No, there's no secret sauce. Honestly, there is no secret sauce.
So my kids, I had them in the foreign language academy downtown, right?
Oh yeah.
And I'm like, y'all, I'm gonna have y'all's brain wired to be able to pick up languages so that you can have a cheat code.
The thing is to start them early. My daughter is fluent in French. She's fluent in Spanish, and of course she speaks English, and she speaks Creole too. She's better at Spanish than I am, because I pushed her from the time she was very young. She went to a multilingual school on purpose.
Amazing.
That's the key. Start early.
Early, yes. No, they started at elementary, and they don't they're jocks, right? So they don't really use it. But I'm like, okay, when you get to college, you're gonna understand it's gonna pay off.
Yeah.
It's gonna pay off.
It's amazing how many, we are from different areas of the Caribbean, how much similarities there are, right? I mean, my wife and I speak 5 languages, right? So Dutch, French, Spanish, Papiamento, and English, right? And we've actually, we kid about this all the time. My wife grew up in the Netherlands, so she thinks from a very European perspective. It's black or white. There's no gray. I grew up here in the U.S., so there's that gray in between black and white. But when we are speaking with each other, it's not uncommon for us to start in one language and weave in and out of languages. And as a cybersecurity professional, I often make the joke that we have our own encryption system because nobody.
That's exactly what I was gonna say. People, I'm at work, right? If my mom or my daughter, somebody calls me, my brother, and I switch, and they're like, "What are you doing?" And I'm like, I have no idea.
You have no idea, right?
You don't. No, I couldn't tell you. Sometimes they say you were just speaking something that I'm like, I have no idea. I don't know. Because I'm just,
it just comes natural.
Cool.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah. Rachel, here, what strikes me is, and I say this as someone who also packed a bag from the Caribbean island, boarded plane, trusting that it was going to work out. I left St. Martin at a very young age for a school and career in the U.S. And I know that mix of determination and sheer nerve, what it means. So I want to understand your version of that moment. Haiti to Orlando for engineering school. That's not a small leap. What was life back in Haiti or Haiti, right? And what did you see in yourself that made you believe that this was possible?
This is another one that's probably going to surprise you. I never wanted to come here.
Well, you're your daddy's daughter, right?
Exactly. And I'm gonna tell you the full story. I was 18. I was 19. I had just finished my whole, school in Haiti, and I wanted to go to engineering school. So I went to 3,000 kids took the exam. They only picked 150 at the best engineering school, the public school, engineering school in Haiti. That's where my dad went. And I was one of the 150. I was one of the top. And I was lucky. So I'm like, oh yeah. At the same time, I started dating my first boyfriend, and I was in love, and he was in love. And my mom was like, well,
it's funny how those things happen. Eh?
Mm-hmm. I was in 92, 93 in Haiti, and that's where really the unrest really started. And my mom was like, you gotta go. I'm like, I'm not going anywhere. Are you kidding? I'm in love. We're getting married, da-da-da-da. So, but my mom, she was like, nope, you're going. You're going. And I was like,
so your mom was like, no, we got a plan. You're going to stick with the plan.
You're the oldest, you're going, and the other ones are going to follow. So that's what happened. I did not want to leave, but I'm glad I did. I already spoke English. I had been to the US for vacation and things. So I honestly, thinking about it now, looking back, I'm like, I was very naive because I wasn't worried about anything. I had a green card already because my grandmother, like I said, had moved to the US when she was younger, and she had had her kids. She had 3 kids. My dad was the youngest. So the older 2 with their families decided to come to the US. My daddy's the one who never wanted to come. Yeah. And so every time my grandmother would try to force my dad to do it, he would say no. So my mom and my grandmother, her mother-in-law, had to do this without my dad. So they said the 2 of those ladies had to be like, okay, forget him. Let's just take care of it, because they had to make sure the kids had the opportunity. He doesn't want it, that's fine. So my mom and my grandmother made it work, got us the interview and everything. So we got the green card. Fun story. I don't know, 5-6 years later, after we got the green card, my dad sent his green card back to the U.S. government. He said, "No, thank you."
Oh my God.
That is funny.
No, I'm serious. He's not interested. But anyway, so yes, that's how it happened. I didn't want to do it, but I'm glad I did. And when I came here again, I was not worried about anything. She sent me to New York, but I like New York, but it was too cold for me. That was in February, and I'm like, I don't think so. So I shipped myself back to Florida, and I had the cousin here in Fort Lauderdale. She said, "Why don't you come and stay with me?" So that's what I did. I moved into her house, and I was there for 2 years. I applied for the community college there. I was there for 2 years, graduated, and then I said, okay, I want to go into civil engineering. FIU at the time in Fort Lauderdale didn't have civil, so that's why I said, okay, Orlando. And I picked Orlando because a few years before that, I think when I was 12, my mom took us to Orlando and we did a bunch of the parks.
Oh, got it.
I loved Orlando.
Right.
Yeah. So I decided, okay, Orlando it is. There's a good UCF there, so that's why I decided on Orlando.
Amazing. You know, the crazy thing, Roy, y'all talk about coming to America for a better opportunity, right? Well, my mama did that.
We were Eddie Murphy.
Right. But no, you were Eddie Murphy. I was Eddie Murphy too. My mom put me on a Greyhound bus in '84 from New Orleans for a better life in Florida, right? Yeah. And I'm like you, Rachel. I came here. I was excited about the opportunity, and it's just looking back, the last 42 years have just been. I was on the phone with someone earlier saying, "Man, I'm pinching myself how crazy life has become." But anyway, Roy, you got anything else, or should I move on?
No, it's amazing when you think of it. And you just mentioned thinking back 42 years, and I think back of my journey, and I'm sure Rachel thinks back of hers. But we also, look at that 1 degree, right, where that may not have happened, right, and what that could have looked like, right, and how that is for so many out there. Take it away, Sean.
Something had to be instilled in you back in Haiti, right? A standard, a work ethic. Yeah. I know your dad was an engineer, your mom was a professional. Sounds like a grandmother. Sounds like your grandparents were professionals as well.
They were, yes.
A way to carry yourself. That followed you here and never left.
Well, like you said, it's the one thing from being from the islands. You see how you have the abundance here. You have everything here. You throw things away. You just buy more. Back home, we're not like that. You know, whatever you have, you preserve it, you conserve it. And whatever opportunity you have, you run with it. And that's what it was, and you always, we went to a parochial school, really, fantastic, incredible. The education I got there was just incredible. And that's the same thing, the way, the academics, they really, really push the academics. I see what kids are doing here compared to back home. It's a totally different ballgame.
Yes.
And it's not just the academics. They taught us so many other things, and being driven and doing the best with what you got. That's what it is. And I was lucky. I'm one of the lucky ones. I came here, I already spoke English. I had a green card, and I did well in school. So when I came here with my transcripts and everything, I was able to. I did what they called CLEP. I was able to just, because there are a lot of classes that I took at my high school in Haiti, which was what you guys consider a STEM school here. That's what I went to, the school I went to in Haiti. Classes that I took at that school that I never took here in engineering school. Super, like advanced science courses, like optics, advanced physics. We did all that. So
in Haiti, but not here.
In Haiti, exactly. Yes, even in my engineering curriculum. And I have a master's degree in engineering. I started a PhD in engineering. I didn't finish. So that's another tidbit. I'm a dropout.
We'll forgive you for that. There's nothing wrong with that.
Thank you. Yes, so they reading, learning, continuing to learn, do the best you can. That's where it came from, I think.
Yeah, and I can relate to that in the sense that, so I did my elementary school up to in St. Martin, and then I moved over here to the U.S. But even in the 5th grade, Sean, we had to know every country that was out there. We had to be able to identify the country in the map,
Sure.
identify the head,
Capitals,
the capital of
languages.
the languages, the rivers, the mountain ranges, the whole 9 yards. So, here you are at a very young age, and you have an entire atlas that's laid out for you.
Right.
I was surprised when I came to school here that, that was actually an elective, whereas back home that was at a very young age a mandatory requirement.
Yes.
I
had to learn the whole period. I knew the periodic table first to last, everything. Wow. Yes. I mean, I lost a lot of it now, but
right, yeah, but back then, well, I would submit to you all, the America that I grew up in was what you're talking about. And I think that's because I remember I got a degree in economics from University of Miami. It was in the School of Arts and Sciences, but I minored in business administration. And I did it in the School of Arts and Sciences so that I can learn the cultural things of life, so that I can know about art, because I grew up in the projects of New Orleans. We didn't know any of that stuff. And so my mom used to send me to the library in the summer, and I got this huge fascination for different cultures around the world. So when I meet you, and you might remember this, when I first met you, I'm always asking questions about, hey, where are you from? Tell me your story. And so I love that kind of stuff. But my favorite professor in all of college was an English professor from Ghana. And we used to call her Nana from Ghana. And she, matter of fact, you remind me of her. And she was a bulldog about just keeping the standard up. And she used to challenge the students. She's like, y'all come from all of these wealthy, y'all come here dressed like you're poor and acting like you're poor, instead of, and poor people want to be like you. So anyway, I really appreciate what y'all are saying there. But I yearn for a day when our country goes back to that. But let me ask you this. Was there one person, I know you've talked about your mom, your dad, your grandmother. Was there one person that their voice you still hear when you're making hard calls today?
Well, if you're talking about work, I think it's still Gary. I told you guys about Gary, the gentleman who mentored me, who hired me at GEC as an intern. I still call him, we talk all the time if I need something, when it comes to work, that's what it is. When it comes to management and things like that, yes.
Very cool.
If it's about my personal life, I probably think a lot about my mom and my grandmother.
Yeah, and I can tell you the moms and the grandmothers, and I'm sure, it's, how do you say, very similar. They carry a lot of weight. And
a lot of weight.
And they have a lot of final says with regards to how things are. And much like you said, Rachel, it was, become an engineer, become a doctor, become a lawyer, one of those professions, and that was where the lines went. But you came here, you went to engineering school, you got 2 degrees, so you figured it out, and what you built since then, and what you've helped build underneath this region, I mean, that deserves its own conversation, right? SunRail, I-4 Ultimate, the Wekiva Parkway, Orlando International Airport South Terminal. These are the arteries of Central Florida. And underneath all of it, literally, is geotechnical work that most people never think about. So when most people hear about geotechnical engineering, I'm sure, their eyes may glaze over.
Yes.
But give us the real version. What is it? Why does it matter? And what happens when it goes wrong?
Oh, well, most people have no idea what you're saying when you say geotechnical engineering. The people who have an idea, they think sinkholes, which, in Central Florida. And that's really part of it. But I'm going to be honest, I've never worked on a sinkhole in my life. We have engineers here who have done it. That's not what I have specialized in personally. But geotechnical engineering, geo, soils, dirt, that's really what we do. It's all about infrastructure. If you're building a bridge, if you're building a road, if you're building a structure, the building we are in right now, we all, all the different buildings, anything that has to interact with soils, any structure, anything you're building, or even ponds, walls, you want to have a geotechnical engineering study, meaning you go in with some equipment, you kind of test the soils. You can retrieve samples and you test the soils to see, okay, can the soil withstand whatever I'm trying to build? That's
Right.
really the gist of it.
Nice. So on a project like I-4 Ultimate or SunRail, what is GEC's actual role?
Okay, so we come in early. Well, the first part is they come up with a concept, like in the planning phases. You come up with a concept. Okay, we want to build this road. So you look at what's out there, the geology out there. Okay, if you're gonna build a road here, you have a river here. You have another road here. Do you want an interchange with this thing? There's a slough here, so you're gonna have to have a bridge or a culvert. All those kinds of things. And of course, the kind of things we look at are the types of soils, things like that, to see, okay,
Right.
is it feasible? And if it is feasible, what are the recommendations that we're gonna have to give to the engineers to build this, to design it, and to build it? So we would come in, you give us the layout, what you want to build, and then depending on what's gonna be in this location, that location, this location, that location, we would do different types of studies. So if it's a bridge, we have a certain type of boring, like a you drill through certain depth to see, okay, can I build a bridge here? And so what kind of foundation? If it's gonna be a pond, you do a different type of boring and a different kind of study. So that's our role. We give the recommendation. So we work with all the engineers, the structural, the roadway engineers, the water engineers, all of them, the architects, to put all this together.
As you were describing that there, I was playing back the Wekiva Parkway in my head, having known what it was before to what it is today, and the vast majority of it is elevated, particularly for the wildlife, because it's in the Wekiva Park.
Yes.
But going through, even thinking on that from Apopka going all the way back over to Lake Mary Sanford area, I mean, yeah, you're traversing all sorts of different challenges there,
sensitive
whether it's
areas,
water bodies and different soil types and different things like that. Pretty amazing. So what does your team do? What does GEC do? What makes you different compared to what everybody else is doing out there?
Well, as geotechnical engineers, so we have our own lab where we test the soils that we collect. We also have our own drill rigs. We have like 9 of them right now for different types of terrain. Some of them are, that's the rig that you use to kind of go deep into the soil to collect the information that you need. So we have all those in-house. And of course, as the engineer, you give us the layout where you're going to have bridge, you're going to have wall, you're going to have a pond, you're going to have a road, it's going to be embankment, whatever it is. Then we decide what kind of boring are we going to take over there? How deep is it going to go? Sometimes it may go deeper or shallower, depending on what we find, in the moment. Right. And then when you collect all that information, it comes back to us. We look at it. We look at the soils that we've collected. We collect the water samples too, and all of that. And we do different types of tests, depending on what you're looking for, depending on the structure, the improvement that you're trying to make. We would do the testing, and then we come up with recommendations for the structural engineer to build the foundation of the bridge, for the drainage engineer to decide, okay, how big is the pond going to be? How deep does the pond have to be? All that stuff. So we're really working with everybody else. We're supporting, no pun intended, everybody else in their... No, seriously. I mean, that's what it is.
Cool. Yes.
That's what it is.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, so 25 years of continuous operation, right? And a client list that 35. Yes, I'm sorry, 35, not 25. Yeah. But a client list of Florida Department of Transportation, Central Florida Expressway, Orlando International Airport. Those are not transactional relationships, and so you earn trust like that over decades, and you keep it even when climates shift. How do you build it, and how do you protect it?
Yeah. Well, I'm going to be honest. I didn't build it. I came on board when the company was about 11, 12 years old, when Gary hired me. And of course, I learned under him and all of that. And by the time when I became president of the company was already around 29-ish years. So I was president when we celebrated our 30th, which we couldn't do anything because it was COVID. I caught COVID 2 weeks before we announced that I was taking over.
Oh my God.
I'm not kidding. So I caught COVID and I called Gary. I'm like, okay, guess what? He's like, oh, okay. Well, just after we close, come and get your computer. Cause I had to quarantine, got my computer, work from home for the week. Then I came back on Monday. And then that Friday is when we announced. So yeah. So anyway, Gary built it. Gary built it, and the thing is about he hired the right people, and then I'm building on that. I'm growing the
on
business.
top of that. So he put the foundation in place. So
He
was
did.
it FDOT or the expressway that did SunRail, or was that a city?
SunRail was a conglomerate. I mean, SunRail was a DOT had a part in it, the city had a part in it, everybody. I mean, it was a partnership, really.
Now you had to build some kind of partnership. Was any of that new that you?
This is how it works for us, because we are very niche part of
Right.
civil engineering. So we do have some contracts where we work directly under the client, the cities, the counties, or those kinds of
Right.
things. But most of the time, we are part of a team. So there are a lot of very big civil engineering firms here in Central Florida that do infrastructure. Those are the prime civil, the ones on the big umbrella. And then under
Right.
them, you have structural, you have geotechnical engineers, you have drainage engineers, you have hydrologists, all those other disciplines. We're one of those disciplines. So the big thing for us is to develop relationships with those primes. And through that, we get to work with the big agencies, CFX, Turnpike, Expressway, Airport, those guys. So they get to know us, they get to know our work, so that even if we work with somebody under somebody else, they're familiar with our work and our work ethic and all of that.
Hey, listen, I know you don't want to give the secret sauce away about how you build your relationships. You can say it in French or Creole if you want to.
I can tell you. I will tell. I'm not hiding anything. The way to build it is I hear people talk about business. You can tell the motivation. We were talking about this. I'm not motivated. Yeah. I mean, it's a business. Yes, you have 57 people. You have to feed in their families. But I'm not motivated by money. I'm motivated by doing good work.
Purpose.
And that's really it. Yes, you anticipate what your client needs. You know how the process works. We as you can imagine, we come in early. We have to do our part so we can give everybody else what they need to do their part. So you have to come in early and give them what they need. So very deadline driven. You cannot make them late. You cannot be the one to make them late.
Got it.
So it's about, okay, you anticipate what your client needs, you know the process, and you do what you got to do. There's been times, it's about being of value. And it's not just about the technical, the engineering part. The big thing for me, you can help them outside of that. For example, through my relationship with the DOT, I've helped a lot of my clients, either because I knew something or I knew somebody that I could talk to about a problem that they had. So you bring value to the team. That's how you build those relationships.
And I would say this, Sean, that's a very, very island way, Caribbean, and I say this not to put anywhere else down, but it's and the islands is who you know, and the relationships that you build is what gets you and moves you forward.
That's it.
And to the point where, in French, there's a saying, contract de confidence, meaning that, you for sure that if you enter into that relationship with Rachel and her company, you can bet your confidence on that. And rest assured that it's going to be executed to the fullest of the team.
That's exactly what it. That's it. That's a secret sauce.
Yeah.
Reliable.
I think that's a skill that was resonate around the world because we're all about the same age, right? And it was, your word is your bond. It's don't make it about money. And we've some kind of way have lost that, right? We gotta hit the quick home run. And Rachel, when I read your background, I was like very excited. I'm like, this is someone who is not about money, but about purpose, and the money will come.
Yeah.
The money follows.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah. And Sean, let me say this, and you're on behalf of Rachel and I here, we consider you an honorary.
Honorary.
That's so, don't worry about that, man. We got you, brother. We got you.
You're one of us.
So Rachel, let me go off a little bit here on what Sean said just now. Gary built the company. You've been with the company for 20 something years. He entrusted you with it. But here's the hardest part that people don't really see. And I don't think you're giving yourself enough credit for, which is, how do you continue the success of that company under a new leader, maintain and build a culture, maintain and build new relationships to drive the organization forward, which you have been able to do. So I don't think, my dear, you're giving yourself enough credit.
Thank you. Well, remember, I was with the company for 8 years, and then I left for 12. I was still in Central Florida. And here's the kicker. It was an agonizing decision for me because I love the company. I love what they stand for. I love Gary and I see eye to eye. So our vision is the same about, service and all of that. So it was a hard decision, but I eventually decided to leave because I wanted to do more. I wanted to spread my wings and do more things. I wanted to do marketing and all of that. So I was gone for 12 years. And what that allowed me to do is develop relationships outside of the ones that I already had here. So, and by the way, if you guys remember, one of the last things I did before I came back to GEC is after my second bout of unemployment, I had 2 job offers, but the one that really made sense was the one where I had to open an office here for a company out of Pittsburgh. And so I had to build a whole office on my own, buy the rigs, build a lab, something I had never done before. I had no secretary. I had nothing. It was me. I had to do all that. And I did it. And that really made me develop a set of skills on my own.
Yeah.
And of course, what that also did is I had to do the marketing. I managed all the projects. I did everything myself. Yes, I had to hire the technicians, train them, everything. So one thing I didn't have to worry about is getting paid because remember, I was working under an established company out of Pittsburgh, but I still had to build Florida, right? So what that did for me is not only did I develop skills nobody else had on my own, but I also had to continue developing that network. So I made new relationships, developed new relationships, new clients. Amazing. So when I came back to GEC, I brought all that with
you. Yeah, absolutely. Practical skills.
So I was able to, spread it, develop relationships. Very cool. And there were some clients GEC had lost along the way for, whatever reason. They came back with me.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, and I continue to do a lot of the marketing and developing. And that's the thing I tell, our staff here all the time. Doesn't matter how good a job I do of marketing. If you don't give the client good service, they're not coming back.
That is true.
That's your priority.
And you said something before, that you decided to give up your PhD. But I would venture to say that you probably walked back in the door with a PhD under your arm, right? Given the real world experience you gained from putting that company together and everything else, which was a much broader field than just engineering, because you had to touch on every area of an operation. Yes. So it helped prepare you for where you are today.
Absolutely. You are correct. And this seems to be the theme of my life. People ask me, oh, how did you plan this? Did you vision? I never planned to open a business. I never planned to have a business. People along the way always told me, hey, you should start something for yourself. We will support you. Gary told me this. His old partners told me this, but I was a young mom. I was not interested in doing all this heavy lifting. But what I found is once I left GEC, every step after that, even the unemployment, that played a role in me getting to where I am today. And again, I never planned it. I wasn't following money. And even when I was worried about money, what I found out is every opportunity that came with more money, more opportunities. And it really, what was happening is everybody was watching.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. I'm just doing my job, right? But people were watching. And that's what happened for me because they saw, wait a minute, she was able to do this on her own. So
building credibility, building trust, and there's
the
no
network also.
Right, the network, and I was just going to say, there's no better testimonial, I would say, than the credibility of others who look at what you've done and be able to give you a thumbs up on that, right, and steer you on to others. So as we, and thank you for, first of all, congrats, amazing, be able to put that all together. As we turn more towards today, one thing that is reshaping conversations inside every technical field right now, and I hear it constantly in our work at Aurora Infotech, is artificial intelligence, right? And given what you told us during our prep, you're watching in your industry, Rachel, I want to spend a few minutes here. You said something in your prep that I want to quote back to you because it was specific and honest. You said you're not worried that AI replaces the geotechnical engineers. You're worried that people in your industry will be too quick to rely on it and get careless, and that the engineer shortage that you're already dealing with is going to make that temptation even harder to resist.
Yeah.
That is a very precise concern. Walk us through that.
Well, so we're looking at dirt, right? People are looking at dirt. Okay, it's dirt. It's always dirt. but that's not true. You have, especially in Florida, with the geology the way it is, you have sand, you have clay. There are places where you have limestone. There's a lot of limestone, even deep. Sometimes it's shallow, which leads to the formation of sinkholes and things like that. So another thing that we worry about as geotechnical engineers is water tables. Where's the water level? Usually here it's pretty shallow, but different regions, different areas have different water level elevations, which informs the recommendations that we give the civil engineers when they're building or designing whatever it is.
Right.
What I find is it's very tempting to take an old report, because, by the way, for you guys know, engineers usually produce plans,
right?
A set of plans. In our case, we're the only group of engineers that don't really produce plans. We do produce certain sheets, big plan sheets that go in the plans, but we also write a report.
The reports are probably more.
You got it.
Got it.
But very often people don't really look at the report.
Oh.
And so, yeah.
Don't we need to know if the ground's going to move? If we
that's the thing. There's a lot more details that we go into with the report. What I find is some people get very complacent. Oh, dirt is dirt. This is sand, whatever, everything. But it's not. It's really not that simple. Very often it's a simple project, no problem. But some people might miss the one little thing that could change the whole situation. Certain recommendations and things like that. So I'm worried that AI makes things too easy. You find something that's already canned, you go through it haphazardly, you're busy, and you don't really take the time to look at this project on its own project, to see what the conditions are so you can tailor it to it. So that's why I'm saying I'm not worried about it, because if you want good work, good geotechnical work, I'm not using this. I want an engineer with experience to look at this for me.
Got it.
Amazing.
That's what I mean by AI cannot do this. It's kind of an art, especially, think about it. We can't drill every 2 feet, every 3 feet. So we have to decide, okay, this is what I'm looking at. I can drill maybe 4 borings or 5, depending on what you're looking at. So you have to look at the thing as a whole and make recommendations. And of course, you have to look at your soils map. And so all those things you piece together to come up with recommendations. I don't see AI doing that.
No, and you're absolutely right on that. And I will add something here before I transition to Sean. I saw something today that actually speaks to that. In the recent World Cup, if you looked at it, almost every team that was out there had these neon pink shoes.
Yes,
right? And they were all from different manufacturers. And so what ended up happening, and I saw a case study on this today, all these manufacturers wanted to come out with the next big thing, and they were doing some studies in terms of what would be the colors and blah, blah, blah for the next, couple years, et cetera. But apparently they all use the same company for their research. And the company, it's just now, may actually have been using AI, right? And they were keeping this like clandestine from each other, right? And all of a sudden the teams come out on everybody. And so you could not really tell the different brands because they're all pink and they're all the same color highlight pink.
Out.
So yeah.
Got it.
And that's what I'm worried about. That's what I'm talking about.
Let's stay on that. Dig deeper into the version of AI that you engineers would actually want to see. The one that makes the work better, faster, or safer in a way that serves the people for your projects.
I think there are things we can do. For example, for us, we produce a report, but we also have to produce sheets that have a summary of the boring data that we collect.
Okay.
I think maybe AI has a part to play on this, but you can't just rely on it. You really have to go through it. It saves you time on one end, but you still have to verify your work because your seal is going on this thing.
I'm just happy to know that I wasn't the only one that thought that the engineering reports were boring. I'm hearing from an engineer herself that it was boring.
Well,
I was feeling a little self-conscious sometimes when because I have a buddy that's an engineer, and I'm like, hey man, let me look at those reports, and I'm like, boy, this is some boring stuff, man.
It can be very dry. I will tell you that it can be very dry, but trust me, you need those guys. You need us. Yeah, and I guess my personality is a little bit different. I hear that all the time. I'm very gregarious. Are you sure you're an engineer? Yeah. It's just I have a little bit of a flavor, right? Yeah, but yeah, we tend to be boring, but that's because we're methodical and we focus on what we're doing, and we focus on what's important.
Yeah, so that kind of clarity, what the work is for and who it serves, shows up in everything that you lead and do today. And I want to speak a little bit about that. GEC today, 57 employees, 17 licensed professionals, 30 field trucks, and 9 drill rigs. What you've built, inherited, and earned, and continue to build is something most leaders never get close to.
Yeah, so you did an internship in grad school, 8 years at the company, made that hard decision to leave. Then Gary calls and says, come back, like, welcome home. Walk us through that arc. What was it like to walk back and knowing more, having seen more? And when did it truly sink in that this company would be yours one day?
Well, to be honest, like I said, I stayed in touch with Gary. And apparently Gary was watching and paying attention. So I mean, again, I was still in Orlando. I never left Orlando. So I was here. So they saw my progression. I went to this company and then lost the job with the recession. I went to that company. So we stayed in touch. So he knew what I was doing. And when I accepted that position to open the office for the Pittsburgh company here in Orlando, that's really when things started to make sense. When I built the office, because let me tell you, I've been here throughout my career, so 27 some years here in Central Florida. I've seen a lot of geotechnical companies from out of state come to Orlando and then close their doors within a year or two.
Oh yeah.
That company that I opened the office for, that was 12 some years ago. No, 15 some years ago. I was there for 6 years. And then when I left, the company was still around, still functioning. Still, again, this is not something that's easy to build something like this in Central Florida.
Right.
Because of all the competition and everything. What those guys understood was that what we do is local. All these other companies, they would have somebody who's already at their office in Pittsburgh, for example, and then send this guy here. It's not going to work. They don't know you. They don't know your work ethic. They don't know your experience. Things are very different. Especially
and they don't have the relationships.
They don't have the relationship. Exactly. Yeah. So that's what those guys did. That's the difference. So when Gary called, again, I stayed in touch with him. But when he called me, it's interesting. When we first started talking about that, there was another company, very well known here, that has since sold. They wanted me to buy them out so that I could go work there and buy the lady out because she wanted to retire. But I wasn't. The company looked on the surface very successful, but I had concerns about what things looked like in the background. So I know Gary. I called Gary. I said, hey, this is what's happening. And he said, oh, you sure you want to do this? How about you come back? Because I was thinking about, I'm retiring, and you're the one I wanted to, buy me out. And I'm like, well, I've already been talking to her. Let's see if we can work this out. So what nobody knows, I guess they're going to find out now, is when I was negotiating with that other lady, Gary was in the background looking at the contracts with me and that kind of thing. And he said, Rachel, this is not good. This isn't good. And, I trust him. So I said, you know what I'm going to do? I'm not going to buy you out. I'm going to come in, work in the company. And that was before Gary, right? The other company.
Yeah.
I worked with them for about a year just to see how the operations were. And I was right. My instincts were right. There was a lot of, they were not functioning in an optimal way over there. And I tried to fix things before making the decision to buy them out. But the then owner would not really support me in that decision. So that's why I said, okay, I'm leaving. So I left a week shy of a year at that company.
Got it.
And that's when Gary, so then when I was talking to Gary, he said, okay, that's the plan. So if you're not going there, great. Just come to GEC. You're going to work directly under me for a year and a half. The only people who knew about this were his partners at the time. So I worked under him to kind of train as the president for a year and a half. And then I took over. So I already knew that was the plan. I just had to come in, train a little bit, because there's a lot more to ownership than just the engineering and the stuff I had learned before.
I love the fact that you leaned into a relationship like that. And I'm used the analogy of a bird throwing out the baby to teach him how to fly, right? And you've come back to the home and look, yeah, that I studied back when I was a stockbroker for 10 years, we heard about these second generation companies falling apart, or the owners sell to the next generation. Again, they're blowing them up left and right. So again, kudos to you on what you've done so far. And I can't wait to see what the future has.
Yeah, and you know what's remarkable about all of this? I mean, Rachel has stepped in. She took over what Gary built. He, like you said, set her free, and she came back to the nest. But Gary's still there, and he's still there as GEC's chief engineer. Still, a sounding board for you, Rachel.
Absolutely.
And so, what did you watch Gary do? The way he stayed calm when you brought him something that felt like the end of the world. That you now find yourself doing for your own
team.
Same
thing. Yeah. And I tell him that all the time. He's not even aware of it. He doesn't call himself a mentor, but when I think about a mentor, that's what he is. He doesn't call, he said, I'm just your friend. I'm just your friend. And well, one thing I remember, I was a young engineer. I wasn't even a licensed engineer yet. And there was another engineer. He was a friend of mine. He's since died, but he was an engineer here at the company, senior to me. And I guess, as engineers do, we struggle with social interaction sometimes. So Gary walked into my office one day, and he was red, and I saw fumes coming out of his ears.
Right.
I'm kidding, of course. But Gary was not happy. I'm like, okay, what's going on? He said, well, so-and-so, that engineer I was telling you about, the senior engineer, said something to a client that really, really angered the client. He said, the client called me irate, and I told him, let me call you back. So he came to my office. He said, it's your problem now. You fix it. That was it. So I said, okay. And I knew the client. So I called the client. I said, okay, so this engineer is no longer working on the project. And he was screaming on the phone, and I listened, and I said, I'm trying to hear you. You got to tell me what's going on. I know you're unhappy, but don't scream. Just tell me what happened so I can fix it. To this day, when this guy puts us on teams, he doesn't want to work with anybody else. That's what it is. Fix their problem. They don't care about anything else. Fix the problem. And I think that's one of the things he taught me. Focus on what's the goal. The person is unhappy, hear them out, let them talk, and then fix the problem. And I would go to him with situations, and I'm like, oh my God, he's gonna be so mad at me. He's like, no, okay, this is what you can do, that kind of thing. So that's one of the things that's helping me to stay calm, even though in my head I'm like, no. But I've always seen him calm, even though he's mad, he's unhappy. Again, smoke's coming out of his ears. It doesn't matter. Stay calm, fix it. And that's what I do.
You're leading a woman-owned, minority-owned SBE in a field where both are like crazy rare, right? That visibility carries weight whether you sought it or not. How do you hold that responsibility without letting it become a burden? Because that's a huge responsibility.
Well, I try not to look at all that stuff. This is what people say. Well, woman, minority.
Hey, I'm building something.
I'm just as smart, if not smarter, than a lot of those people who are not women or not minorities.
What's the problem? That's right.
What's the problem? So I don't care. It's about focusing on the goal, focusing on the work. And I don't think people hire me because I'm a small business. They don't hire me because I'm minority, because I'm a woman, because I'm Black. They hire me because I know what I'm doing and I'm going to do a good job. So that's what I focus on.
Yeah, it ain't about the race or the it's about getting the job done. Simple as that. That's right.
Do you know what you're doing?
Right. That's right.
Can you get it done? Yeah, that's all it is. That's all it is.
Yeah, so let's pick up the pace a little bit and go to your rapid fire round here.
One of my favorite sessions. So I want to ask a few things. Just one word that comes to mind. There's a book for the unemployed stretch, heavily marked, highlighted, dog-eared.
Yes.
What is it, and what is it?
I brought it.
Okay. What's it called?
I brought it. It's called Simple Abundance.
Wow.
A day book of comfort and joy. So there's 366 passages, a page and a half. They're not long. They're not very long. So it's very short passages, one per day. So that's why it's called a day book of comfort and joy. When you're down in the dumps and, something to pick you up. And I relied on that book for years. I haven't cracked it open in a while because I've been so busy, but it's in my library. I picked it up the other day because I'm like,
it's probably a part of your DNA though. It's probably embedded. Yeah.
Yes, it is.
Very cool.
Absolutely.
There you go.
Most overrated word or buzzword in the engineering infrastructure industry right now?
Sustainability.
One habit that keeps things steady, the thing that makes tomorrow more manageable for you.
Delegate if you can. This is something I've always struggled with, but I'm a lot better with it now. We kind of short staffed, so we're looking for somebody to help us in the accounting department. So I've had to take on a lot more of that, which of course that means I'm buried. But
got it.
When you can, delegate.
Amen to that. So bragging rights round here, Rachel. And I'm just going to name these off, and then tell me which one gets the bigger reaction at the dinner table, right? So 3 languages, or 4, right? 4, 8 countries in a single year, or president of a 35-year firm behind SunRail, I-4, Ultimate, and OIA. Which one gets the biggest reaction at a dinner table?
Probably the languages, and then I'll say second would be the 8 countries in a year.
8 countries in a year.
Yeah. The languages is a big thing because, as you know, people here typically they try to stay within the English. So the fact that you're fluent in other languages, it's kind of, they think it's impressive, but let me tell you, it's not. If you start early, it's not.
It's very impressive to speak multiple. That's why my kids, I'm like, look, y'all are going to learn a language. Your brains are going to be wired early so that you'll be able to pick up a.
Yes.
I have a 19 and a 17-year-old, but they started. No. But they started in the kindergarten. So I had them in a foreign language academy down at Hillcrest down in downtown Orlando. Yeah. So.
Chris, yeah. Sybil, my daughter Sybil went to a multilanguage immersion school in Osceola County. So that's when she really, I'm gonna give you a little bit of, a little tip, something I used when my daughter was growing up. In the morning, when they're getting ready, I would turn on live French or live Spanish radio.
Yes. Yeah, I have them. I'm like, hey, when you're playing your video games, put it in Spanish.
Yes.
You know what they're doing.
Yes.
So now you're getting the language behind it.
Yes.
Because your mom and dad can't teach you the language. Ain't nobody in this. We're not speaking it.
And before we had to really spend years and years immersing ourselves in a language, and now there are all these apps that can really do
my car is set up in French.
Oh, very cool.
My car is set up in French.
Yeah.
Yes, and I'm thinking about switching it to Spanish, just to shake things up a bit.
My wife has her GPS in Dutch, and
there you go. So you stay practicing.
Before we get philosophical, let's get practical. You have 27 years in the field and 3 pieces of advice you'd pass forward. Walk us through them. And Sean, I'm going to kick this off to you.
Go into a field you love, because that is what carries you when things get hard. Give us a specific moment, one where loving what you do was genuinely the only thing that got you through it.
Okay.
I think you're going to get a quote out of this one.
My second bout of unemployment for 10 months, like I told you. So I'm sending resumes, nothing's happening. And then at some point, a friend of mine said, she's a planner and an architect. And she said, I recently got a mediator's license. And I said, oh, okay. So I took a course, a mediator's course. And I had my mediator's license in a few months. And then, of course, I always wanted to go back to engineering. But in the meantime, after I got the mediator's license, you have to have a certain number of hours training under a licensed, experienced mediator. While I was in the course, the people I was working with, they were always talking about the super mediator in Orlando. I can't remember his name now. Everybody's talking about the guy like he's a legend or something. I said, okay. So then I was like, I have to get some hours so I can get my license. I looked up the guy, picked up the phone, called him. He said, "Oh, okay, why don't you come and work with me?"
He put his pants on just like I do.
I trained under him. Because I sent him, he wanted to see my resume to see whether I was legit. He saw it, he said, "Oh, okay, so you're just not working." I said, "I'm not working, still looking for engineering work, but let me do this." And I really I worked with him for several months. I trained under him like 3, 4, 5, 6 months. And I loved it. And I loved it. And I even got job offers and everything. But I was like, no, I'm going back to engineering. Because, it was the recession and I knew things were going to pick up again. That's one, because I could have gone into mediation. But I stuck to it. And then that's when I got the job with the company from Pittsburgh.
Nice. And in your second piece of advice here, and I love this mindset, service over profit. And you said it yourself, you're not primarily motivated by money, but by how good a job you can do and how well you can serve. That is a posture, not a strategy. How do you sustain it when the business still needs and has bills to pay and 57 people depending on you?
Well, I will say I have declined opportunities because they didn't align with my vision or my ethics or all
integrity,
that stuff. So that doesn't scare me. It's I'm lucky I haven't been in a situation where it was so monumental that I had to make a hard decision. It's not a hard decision. If you can you do it? Can you do it? Can you do a great job at it? Yeah.
The third one, I can't wait to hear you answer this because last weekend I made a post on Facebook about how I allowed myself not to protect my vacation time. And it caused me to have a situation with a 40-year relationship of mine. And it was a family member that is like a little brother. And we got at odds because I didn't protect my time. So protecting your time outside of work, why is that a non-negotiable for you? I'm going through it now and I'm like, it will be a non-negotiable for me, not as career advice, but at the level of your values. Tell me about that.
Well, the way I see it, you can't compartmentalize your life. I can't. I understand, I'm a professional. I'm the president of a company. I have a daughter. I have family. I have, all those things. But you can't really completely separate those things. So at the core, if I'm going to do a good job professionally, I need to be good with myself. And in order to be good with myself, I have to protect my time, my mental health and all of that, which means the time, because this is very stressful. It's very taxing. As much as I love it, it's stressful. It's taxing. You need the time. You need the recul. How do you say that? Step back. You need the step back. You need that time to decompress and so you can be full. So you can have energy to do this day in and day out. So you have to protect yourself. Absolutely.
And a lot of the stuff that we do is mental, right? And so there's this notion that you're not doing anything, but your brain is like a computer modem.
It's going.
It's going, and it can get overworked and overtaxed, and that's what happened to me. Which I typically, in the past, I've normally protected myself, but somehow I got killed. Yeah. So anyway,
no. I mean, I saw the post that you put out there, and so right on what you said there as well, Rachel. I would one thing I wanted to ask, and I'm going to throw one in here because I told you three, but I want to add a fourth one. Is if you were talking to a young engineer just starting out today, maybe someone from Haiti or from Saint-Martin or from Okeechobee or even here in Orlando, right? That feels like a long way from where they want to be. Looking at this country the way you once did. What was the one thing you would tell them to develop before anything else?
Well, the first thing is you have to develop your skills. You decide where you want to go. Mm-hmm. The first thing to do is develop the skills. Learn the job. And you cannot allow yourself to get distracted. because there's a lot of distraction out there.
Oh, yeah.
Decide, go for it. And then the next big thing as you building is to develop the network, develop the relationships. Because I can tell you, every single time, either, I lost my job or I wanted something else, it's the relationships that got me there. The last time I really interviewed for a job was this one. Was not this one, my very first interview with Gary.
When you here, got it. Yeah, no
Right.
doubt.
Because after that, it was always opportunities. People are calling me in, even after, when I got my opportunity with Osceola County. Hey, Rachel, is this you? Yeah, it's me. So that was the public works director at Osceola County. This is so-and-so. I'm like, oh, how are you doing? He's like, hey, I saw your resume floating out there. You have to come in because it's formality, but it's your job.
Right. Yes.
The next one where I got the opportunity from the firm in Pittsburgh, I was driving from an interview at the DOT in the Panhandle. While I was driving back from the interview, I got a call from them and they said, hey, the job is yours if you want it. And I'm like, sorry, I can't take the job because my daughter is here in Orlando. I went on the interview because I'm like, okay, I'm looking for a job. This was the first interview I had after 8-9 months. So I said, I can't take the job. So I'm driving and then my phone rings. It's a friend. He's a structural engineer I went to school with. He's like, hey, Rachel, what are you up to? I haven't seen you in a while. Oh, I'm looking for a job. He said, are you serious? Let me call you back. He called me back. The company he was working for, he had opened an office in Orlando for them. They're out of Pittsburgh. And he said they were a structural company. That company, structural company in Pittsburgh, had a sister company that does geotechnical engineering. And the owner of that company wanted to open an Orlando office. He connected me to this guy, and that was it, how I got the job.
Wow.
So everything else, it's network. It's who you know. It's who you know. So hone your skills, build your network.
Yep. Great advice, and you are a living testament of how that has worked out, right? So let's slow things down a bit and look at the big picture. We're rounding up on the top of the segment here, so we got a couple more to go, and then we'll have Sean take us home. Sean, take us away on this one.
The laptop always come on vacation, right? 8 countries. 1 hour emails a day, short breaks scattered throughout the year. What does real balance look like for you? Not the version people post about, the actual one you've made work for you.
Well, like I said, I can't compartmentalize. I can't break myself up. It's my life. I love it. That's the way it is. But when you need a break, you got to take it, and you have to be able to say, okay, like I said, even the 1 hour email a day, that doesn't bother me because I have the rest of the day. That's good enough for me. And to be honest, I don't want to be I hear people talking about fully unplugging. I would have anxiety if I did. I don't want that. I don't want that. I want to know what's going on at all times. I just need to be able to maybe not be in the office or not have to be at my computer if I don't have to. So one hour of email a day while I'm on vacation, that's nothing.
Yeah, I can relate to that as well. And before moving back here and owning a telecom, a company in the islands, I would come on vacation here with my family. But back in the day, we had this thing called the BlackBerry that was always on our hip. You remember, you would take it off. You would take it off your hip, and you would still feel your hip move, vibrating, right? Right. And I realized after a couple trips that what was supposed to be downtime and vacation, that when I got back to the islands, I was more tired than when I left because we're constantly keeping track of things. And then so one time I said, I tell you what I'm going to do. I made a pact with my wife. I'm going to spend 1 hour on emails. It'll be 30 minutes in the morning, 30 minutes in the evening. And I took that BlackBerry and I put it in a drawer for the rest of the day. Best decision I ever made, from a mental state, from everything else,
Yes. Same here. That's it.
Your grandmother, right? Dulka, right? Right.
Yes.
Someone you described as having compassion for the whole world. That is a remarkable thing to say about a person. What did she actually give you, and how do you see her in a way that you lead today?
I love people. I hope that transpires. I hope it shows. And I care for my staff deeply. And one of the things is I make it a point to stay in touch with them. How's your wife? If I remember somebody was having an operation, somebody had an accident, whatever. You stay in touch with your people. I remember today, this happened today. One of my engineers had to put together a big proposal for one of the expressway projects. And I told him, okay, put it together. I will help you Friday afternoon to I'll go through it with you so we can clean it up and finalize it and all of that. And while we're talking, I can't remember at the beginning, how you doing? How are the kids? Because I know they're empty nesters. And I remember one of his boys is in the service. I can't remember, Army, Navy, whatever, one of them. And I said, hey, how are the guys doing? The boys doing? He said, oh, so-and-so is being deployed again. He's going in the Middle East. And you could tell. And I'm like, okay, we're not talking about work anymore. We started talking about, okay, how are you feeling? And of course, I'm listening to him, letting him talk. How's your wife taking it? How are you doing? How is he doing? So for 10, 15 minutes, that's how we talked about it. And he kept like, well, Rachel, we got to talk about, no, right. Let's talk about you. How are you doing? How's your,
the human side of things?
Because you can't focus on the work when you're so worried about your child. So, we talked about it and everything. And then I gave him a little time and I said, hey, by the way, if you want to talk some more, you can call me. I know we have to get this done. If you want to talk more, you can always call me. So we left that topic, got into the engineering, we got the thing done, and he was very grateful for that. And I reminded him, hey, if you want to talk this weekend, you call me. I think that's what it's about. You have to recognize your people are not robots. They're not just professionals. They have lives. You support them.
I love what you just said. And so I want, typically we ask these questions, hey, what does 10 years look like for your company, right? And a lot of times when people ask those questions, you're talking about revenue-wise, how many clients you have and stuff like that. What does thriving mean in your version of the company?
Well, I think for me, I'm doing everything I want to do. I think I'm managing the company the way I want it managed. We're very relaxed here, because of, especially with the change in how everything works. We don't really physically go to meetings anymore. People don't really come here. So it's very relaxed. I want to maintain it that way. I want to keep the company growing, I would like to maintain the culture. That's really what I would like. Even when we get bigger, I'd like to be able to maintain the culture. And we just went through a pretty major growth spurts.
Okay.
When I took over, we were at 35, 36 employees, 2 years, and then now, 35, 36. And then we steadily increased. And then over the last 2 years, we hired 20 people.
Got it.
So it's yeah. So it's been kind of steady, So for me, it's about the culture. And I think there's something little known about GEC. A lot of people, they'll stay here forever. We have people who have been here for 30 plus years.
That is amazing.
Awesome. Some of our technicians have been with us for 35 years in an industry that is notorious for turnover. Yeah. So a lot of people leave, they come back because of the culture, because of how we manage it. And I'm hoping to keep that going, even if we grow to a certain size. Of course, dynamics change, things change a little bit. You have to streamline some things. But at the same time, I'm trying to maintain that culture as much as I can.
Excellent. And if the story teaches one lesson long after you're done telling, what do you hope that lesson is?
Oh, that's a tough one. Okay, I think this is the lesson. This is the lesson for me. If I don't love this anymore, I'm out of here.
I'm out of here. Yes.
If I don't like what I'm doing, I don't like the people I'm working with, what's the point?
Right.
That is true.
Yeah, you love what you do. You see the point of what you do. Central Florida is growing. Construction. We have a role to play, and I can do it. Supporting it. So I'm supporting the community. We're earning a decent living for everybody here. We're helping the community grow. I think that's it. And if I love it, great. Once I'm tired of it, I don't know when that's going to be, then I'm going to have to move on to something else that I like.
Got it.
And I've always said, if you can get up in the morning, you're passionate about what you do and
yes,
go for it. But the minute that passion,
it's not a job.
Exactly.
It's not a job.
Exactly. Right. So Rachel, I got to ask you my trademark question here that I tend to throw out to every one of our guests. And we have varying results on this, and Sean and I have seen a culmination of boards here that are amazing. But if you had the opportunity to put together a dream board of advisors, anyone from any point in time, past or present, who would be on your board and why?
Different people. Gary, of course, I always want to have him. my advisor at UCF, who's still there, we talk, we see each other. We've been on panels together. Dr. Chopra, he was instrumental in everything, because he's the one we hire from UCF. We hire interns from UCF, and that's how I started here. He's the one who set up, because Gary was looking for an intern.
Oh,
he
very
recommended
cool.
me. That's how I got the job. So he's another one. Yeah, of course. And then Toussaint Louverture, who's one of the heroes of independence.
Yeah, Toussaint Louverture. Yes.
Yeah, I've always been impressed. You know, Dessalines, Pétion, all these guys. But Toussaint Louverture is always
very cool.
Yeah, I mean, you know, fearlessness. Yes. Just go.
Yes,
yeah, do it.
I read a piece. You're speaking about Toussaint Louverture. I read a piece where Le Grenadiers, the soccer team, wanted to actually have his symbol, or they had a kit, the jerseys with his portrait on it. But unfortunately,
on the horse.
Right?
I remember.
Unfortunately, FIFA would not allow it because of the political statements, etc. So
Yes, and I was mad about that.
I hear you.
Got it.
Sean, take us home.
Yeah, Rachel, man, what an incredible time. Enjoyed it. Thank you for your time. But what stands out about this story, the thing that will stay with me, is the consistency of the theme that you have here. No chasing titles, no engineering a path to the top of the org chart. Just excellent work. A genuine love for what you do, and showing up fully in the field for clients and for the team. And now, the right doors kept opening up. And I know that. And a lot of people listening today needed to hear that, I believe. And that's one of the reasons why we've done this podcast. Thank you for being so open and so genuine with your time and your story.
Yeah.
Thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure.
And Rachel, like I said, when we started this, amazing when I read your story, and I could relate to so many things. But to have a fellow Caribbean islander on here and to see what you have been able to do, and more so, not only going into an organization, working there, but deciding to leave, spreading your wings, picking up all that knowledge, coming back in with that PhD of life, so to say, and business. And you said something just now earlier, you want to protect your culture. And that's usually the biggest challenge, right? Whenever you either take over a company or you expand a company too quickly, is how do we not dilute grandma's recipe, right? For chicken soup, right? How do we ensure that it keeps tasting the same and that the company keeps moving forward? And so what comes through in everything that you share today is a kind of leadership that is grounded in craft, not ego, a career built on principle that if the work is done exceptionally well and the people around you are truly served, everything else follows. That is rare. It is also exactly what the infrastructure holding this region together deserves. People who feel the full weight of getting it right every single time. And personally, as I said, from one Caribbean kid who bet on themselves in this country to another, this conversation meant a great deal. And we are genuinely grateful you came and shared your story with us. Keep plugging away. And I look forward to us getting together all soon in person and sharing more with each other. So, merci beaucoup.
Well, thank you so much for having me. It's been such a pleasure. I love it. That was a fun conversation.
Very good.
Thank you.
And finally, as we wrap up this episode, I want to invite you to our CEO Leadership Forums event. It's a purpose-driven community of CEOs, founders, and business leaders committed to growth, impact, and legacy. Our goal at CEO Leadership Forums is to inspire and equip 1,500 CEOs and leaders by 2028. And that's in partnership with Valencia and strategic partners like CEO Nexus. So join us on August 25th, where we will discuss leading beyond the algorithm, what great leaders look like, or great leadership looks like in an AI-driven world. And you can find details at www.ceoleadershipforums.com. And until next time, stay curious, stay driven, and keep leading with purpose.
Hi, I'm Roy Richardson, host of the Dynamic Business Leaders Podcast. Are you a business owner or leader of a successful business? If yes, we'd love to have you as a guest on our program. Our goal is simple. We provide a platform for leaders to share their experiences to benefit others. We want to hear your story, how you got started, the challenges you faced along the way, and your passion today. If this sounds like you know someone who fits these criteria, then be sure to get in touch with us by visiting our website linked in the episode description below. Also, don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel and click the notification bell to be notified when our next episode goes live. Or, if you'd rather listen to us during your car rides, you can also follow us on your favorite audio channel using your podcatcher. Thanks again, and remember, keep crushing it.